By the middle of the 3rd century BCE, the Mauryan Empire operated as a self-sustaining engine of war. It commanded nearly the entire Indian subcontinent through overwhelming, systematic military force. The empire's organizing principle was Digvijaya, a doctrine of conquest by the sword. The state was built to expand, and it expanded through absolute subjugation. The man driving this expansion was Emperor Ashoka. In his early reign, his efficiency in eliminating rivals and expanding Mauryan borders earned him a terrifying title, Chandashoka, or Ashoka the Fierce. Look at this map of the Mauryan Empire in 261 BCE. Notice this single, isolated coastal region. That is Kalinga. It was a fiercely independent state, and for a ruler focused on total territorial dominance, its continued sovereignty was unacceptable. Ashoka mobilized the full weight of his military. He deployed massive infantry and chariot divisions, driving them straight into Kalinga to violently strip its independence. For an ancient king, this was the standard order of operations. An emperor's worth, his historical legacy, and his political power were measured by the scale and totality of his conquests. The Kalinga military was decimated. Over 100,000 opposing soldiers were killed on the battlefield. This data visualization shows how that violence spilled over into the civilian population. 150,000 people were forcibly deported. In total, nearly 250,000 lives were lost. The human cost exceeded almost any other recorded conflict in ancient history. Ashoka walked the battlefield in the aftermath. The conquest was absolute. But instead of pride, the sheer scale of the rotting corpses and captive civilians filled him with a paralyzing repulsion. He achieved a total, unquestioned victory, and then, standing over the ruins of Kalinga, he renounced warfare forever. He is the first and only known conqueror in antiquity to do this immediately following a decisive military triumph. Ashoka had reached the absolute peak of Mauryan power, yet his first act as the undisputed master of Kalinga was to ensure it would be his last conquest. The sword fell. Ashoka brought the Mauryan war machine to a complete, immediate halt. We know the exact details of his psychological breaking point because he carved them into stone. This is the 13th rock edict. In these inscriptions, Ashoka states that the slaughter, death, and captive-taking of the Kalinga people deeply saddened the beloved of the gods. An active, expanding superpower officially and permanently apologized to a territory it had just destroyed. The emperor placed his own moral conscience above the imperial ego of his state. Ashoka abandoned his previous philosophy, leaving a vacuum in how to govern such a massive empire. To fill it, he turned to a Buddhist monk named Upagupta. Upagupta was a figure of profound serenity. He guided Ashoka's spiritual awakening, instructing the emperor in the principles of ahimsa, the practice of nonviolence. Upagupta's crucial lesson was that Mauryan power did not have to be dismantled. It could be actively redirected away from destruction and mobilized toward compassionate governance. The monk's influence was so powerful that his cultural footprint remains visible today. Across Southeast Asia, Upagupta is still venerated in massive street festivals, invoked as a protector who guards the vulnerable against disaster. He gave Ashoka a framework he needed to translate paralyzing personal guilt into an active system of statecraft. Ashoka replaced military conquest with a new state ideology, Dhammavijaya, or conquest by moral righteousness. The empire underwent a physical transformation. The budget was reallocated into aggressive public welfare infrastructure. The state dug thousands of new wells and planted rows of shade trees along all major trade routes. He established wide-reaching medical treatment facilities. Remarkably, these state-funded hospitals were designed to treat both human citizens and animal populations alike. This flowchart maps out a new chain of command. Ashoka deployed a cadre of officers called the Dhamma Mahamatas. They bypassed traditional military structures to travel the empire, resolve disputes, prevent wrongful imprisonments, and ensure justice. Ashoka's Dhamma functioned as a universal code of civic ethics and social harmony, applied to all subjects regardless of their sect or caste. The emperor then extended this moral duty to the environment. He prohibited animal slaughter in the royal kitchens and eventually banned the hunting of specific species. These policies represented some of the world's first recorded instances of wildlife conservation for endangered species. Physical structures were erected to anchor this philosophy across the land. The Great Stupa at Sanchi is a massive architectural testament to this piece, built to broadcast the principles of Dhamma in stone and brick. These symbols of moral duty outlived the empire. When the modern Republic of India was established, they looked back through history and chose the lion capital of Ashoka to serve as their national emblem. Emperor Ashoka proved that an empire's true greatness is not found in the territory it destroys, but in the life it chooses to protect and nurture.